Hello and welcome back to the channel. Making a video I didn't really think I'd be making yet again. So last night I had this brilliant idea that I would make a video doing tank comparisons, because tanking is one of the things that I kind of like doing every now and again. I've main tanked raids in the past when I was actually a raid leader. Um, it's not my most favorite thing to do. I'm good with doing it once I'm a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, I like seeing which classes are good and which ones are going to be fun. I like to tank dungeons, except for if they're random dungeons, because random people are dumb and it's frustrating as crap to try and tank for idiot people who want to pull and then trying to sort it out and people bitching and complaining because they died because some other dude pulled stuff and you can only keep so much aggro. But anyway, back to what I was saying is I was thinking about making a video on the tanks and how they compared. Now, I had played the Death Knight and I'd played on the Warrior a bit, and Guardian Druid I'd done some questing on, and it was awful, but I figured I would run through some dungeons and see how they fared and give kind of a little bit of a comparison. So I figured, all right, to start off, I'll do the Warrior because I hadn't been on the Warrior in a while. The tanking, I know there were some big changes, and I had seen other videos where they talked about Ignore Pain being taken out, and I was like, they'd made some changes. It was really bad. They added in some stuff. It wasn't so bad. And I was like, okay, well, let me give it another try and see how it works out. And when I went to log on, I noticed that there was a patch. It'd been a few days since I'd logged on, and I loaded the patch up. I started to get on the character, set up his action bars and stuff, and lo and behold, guess what had returned? Ignore Pain. Um, so then I said, oh, I know what I'll do instead. I will make a video just on this, on the whole new, everything that's new with the Warrior. And then I got tired and I went to bed, and then I woke up this morning and I look and someone is already doing a video on that. So I'm not going to go through and talk about all that. I am going to give an overview on the Warrior, though, which is what this video is going to be about, and how it's probably not going to stay in its current form. I'm going to start off with some of the basic abilities like my other videos. Not a whole lot of different stuff. A lot of it's going to be in the talents. Avatar, though, now is baseline. Battle Shout is the buff. It's increases attack power. It's a buff. It's back. Lasts for an hour. Berserker Rage is still gonna give you immunity from fear, sap, incapacitation effects for 6 seconds. Demoralizing Shout still does what it does. Reduces damage enemies deal to you within 10 yards for 20% for 8 seconds. Devastate, still just basically a filler spell. I liked it better when it was like kind of more along the lines of a rage generating adder. That's a terrible way of phrasing it, but you know what I mean. Heroic Leap still does what it does. Heroic Throw still does what it does. Ignore Pain is back, though. It was taken out, and it kind of, a lot of people have problems with this for a number of reasons. To me, it just, I don't know, it didn't really make sense. I mean, it's a good ability. It was really OP in when it first came out, but it didn't make a whole lot of sense. But I'll get into that in a little bit more in a bit. Intercept still does what Intercept does. It's got 2 charges. I'm not sure if that's talent, but Intimidating Roar, Zephyr. Last Stand increases your maximum health by 30% for 15 seconds and instantly heals you for that amount. I think that's different. That might have been something that maybe a change that was added in, because I remember, it's been a while since I Warrior tanked, but I remember there being a macro I used to press that I would do Last Stand, and there was an ability that would instantly heal you, and you'd have to macro them together to get the most out of it. That's Mass Spell Reflection. Spell Reflection is an ability, but I have a talent here. Let me pull that off real quick so we can see that it's a, where is that? Or is it a talent? I thought for sure it was a talent. No, I think that's, oh, it's a PvP talent. So honor talent, yeah, it should have been more obvious there. But anyway, Pummel, your Interrupt, Rallying Cry is going to basically grant all party raid members 15% temporary maximum health. So that's kind of like what Last Stand did for you, but apparently now you could still do it for everyone. It's a shout. It's pretty much the I think it's a warrior unique ability. All the warriors can do it. Revenge, Shield Bash. I did not have this on my action bar, but I'm pretty sure this is a honor talent, although it doesn't say it's an honor talent on here. Um, that's another thing too I've noticed is that you get a lot more abilities with these honor talents. A lot of them are passive, but some of them are actually active abilities. And if you want, you can, I mean, in the various things you can actually get like bodyguard. I mean, um, I'm gonna have to look into that more in another video. But carrying on shield block, it still raises your shield, blocking all melee attacks for 6 seconds. Um, I remember it. And it says these blocks can be critical blocks, increases shield slam damage by 30% while active. And that's very similar to what it does now. And blocking, I like blocking when it was a thing where it just you blocked, it meant you did not take any damage. Now it's if you look in the character stat sheet, block, it says, let me get on the right thing. Block 1,316 reduces the damage you take by 68%. So there's some math to it. I don't really like the math. Shield Slam. Shield Slam is going to be your rage generator. It's on a 7.5 second cooldown. With more haste, it'll be less. You can see it's in green. Devastate, Thunderclap, and Revenge have a 30% chance to reset the cooldown. So yeah, you can get some good procs with this. Shield Wall reduces all damage you take by 40% for 8 seconds. Shockwave is now baseline, which it makes it a very good ability to use for, especially for tanking. Now that you have an AOE stun, the damage it does isn't all that great, but it's stun. I mean, it's a stun. It's an interrupt, so it's good stuff. Taunt's your taunt. Thunderclap is kind of your AOE threat generator, and it also apparently generates rage now too. Victory Rush, whenever you kill someone, you can basically heal. This is good, I found, when running dungeons, because it keeps you alive. It was one of those things that separates you from other tanking classes, because as a warrior, you really don't have a go-to ability to heal. You can talent it for that, but it's not really the warrior style. If you're tanking a large amount of adds, this is one of those things that can give you a good boost to your health, because you don't have that on-demand heal that when you need it. That looks like that's about it. Deep Wounds is your Devastate and Revenge also cause to bleed over 15 seconds. Your Mastery is Critical Block, increases your chance to block by 14.8%, and chance to critically block, gaining twice your block value by 44%. Also increases your attack power. Vanguard is you're hardened by battle. Your stamina is increased by 30%. Armor is increased by 40% of your strength. So I think strength is going to be a strong stat, especially when it comes to some of these talents. But let's jump into those right now. Into the Fray is pretty much the same as it is on live. I don't know if the numbers are exactly lining up, but basically you gain haste for each enemy or ally within 10 yards, up to 15%. I think on live it's only for enemies though, up to 15%. So 15% boost in haste, especially at low levels and for tanking dungeons, is very, very helpful. Punish, Shield Slam reduces, deals 20% increased damage and reduces enemies' damage against you by 3% for 9 seconds. I mean, I guess it's good for single target and for damage reduction. Probably if you're good with haste, I imagine this is something you could go to more. Or if you're not very confident in your healer, you can replace. You can get Impending Victory, which will replace Victory Rush. You don't have to kill it. You have a basically on-demand heal that costs 10 rage, and it's got a 30-second cooldown. It does, I think it does, I want to say it does better damage. It does better damage, and it only heals you for 15% of your maximum health. Killing an enemy that yields experience or honor resets the cooldown, but it only heals for 15% versus Victory Rush, which does 20%. I like Into the Fray right now for leveling, though. Next is Crackling Thunder, increases the radius of Thunderclap. This is good for if you're needing to get more aggro over a greater period. Bounding Stride is going to reduce the cooldown on Heroic Leap, and Heroic Leap now has also increases your run speed for 70%. That's going to be your movement speed increase. It's helpful. Safeguard, intercepting friendly target, now causes 30% of their damage taken to transfer to you for 6 seconds. thought that's kind of what this did anyway. Intercepts the next melee range against them for 10 seconds while the ally remains within 10 yards. Okay, so yeah, I'd never use this really so much on friendly targets, but unless they're about to die. So there's that. We still got this coming soon talent, which hopefully it will be something worthwhile. Unstoppable Force Avatar increases the damage of Thunderclap by 100% and reduces its cooldown by 50%. I wonder if that means by choosing this talent you're going to Avatar and then Thunderclap like there's no tomorrow. It does a pretty good amount of damage, and I never realized that. I usually only kept Thunderclap up for the speed reduction and the AoE threat, but I mean it's going to change the playstyle. Best Served Cold, Revenge deals 5% more damage per target hit, up to 25%. Revenge it does good damage, and it damages all enemies in front of you. So your successful dodges also give you a chance to get it for free. So that's pretty nice. Indomitable increases your maximum health by 10%, which is good. I mean, 10% health. I mean, I can't change it now, but you see my health's at 46,000 and some change. I'm gonna switch into this talent right now, and it gives me a 51,000. So that's not too bad, but at the same time, Bolster is also a pretty nice cooldown to have. It's a damage reduction thing because it increases your armor by 40% of your strength for 10 seconds. If you look here, my strength is 1309. 40% of that is, we'll say like 600, maybe 5 something. So it'll increase my armor by 500. My armor right now reduces damage by 55%, so another 500. Let me see if I can. I have a talent, generated some rage, and bam, look at that now, 2,000, so 61%. So 61% right now. Let me let this run off so you can see. Yeah, 6% armor, and that's at this level. So the higher strength, the more it's going to be. So it's pretty good. I like it. I like Bolster. It's another damage reduction ability on demand. And it costs 20 rage. So you have now another thing to spend rage on. Never surrenders. Your block chances increase by up to 30% based on your missing health. I don't generally like to be low health, so I don't like this talent. I guess this is good for when you're in one of those fights, but I would not keep this as a general rule, because if a good portion of your health is missing, you are failing as a tank. You should be mitigating damage, not eating it, so that you can have a higher block chance. All right, going on to the next row here, we have Menace. Intimidating Shout disorients enemies for an additional 4 seconds, and it causes all enemies to cower in fear instead of fleeing. This will be good, especially in like Mythic Pluses. I could see how that could be good to have. Rumbling Earth, when Shockwave strikes at least 3 targets, its cooldown is reduced by 10 seconds. So I like this one because Shockwave has a 30-second cooldown, and 10 seconds is a good chunk. You're going to want to use this as much as you can, especially in dungeons. So it's good for AoE threat as well, because even though it doesn't do a whole lot of damage, it does do some damage, and it's another way of getting threat AoE, which is not a warrior's forte. Yeah. And Stormbolt's okay, I guess, for a single target. It doesn't do really good damage, 374 damage, and stunning them for 4 seconds. I remember this used to do more damage if they were immune to stun, but it doesn't look like that's now part of the equation. Booming Voice, Demoralizing Shout, also generates 40 rage and increases damage you deal to affected targets by 15%. I like this mainly because it's an instant way of getting rage. So being able to use abilities on demand, it gives a better interplay, especially like when you really need rage, to have that, bolster, or to pull out that ignore pain. Yeah, I like it. And there's other talents, they're good too. This vengeance talent was recently changed because now it says ignore pain reduces the rage cost of your next revenge. I don't believe it said that before because ignore pain was not a thing at that time. So Yeah, it reduces your next revenge by 33%, and revenge reduces the rage cost of your next ignore pain by 33%. So I guess in a situation where you're going to be putting more use, or maybe if you're in a build where you're not using bolster as much, and you're relying heavily on ignore pain, which I don't think is an impossibility, you could go for Indomitable and go with that. It gives you some options though. Devastator, your auto attacks deal an additional 480 physical damage and have a 20% chance to reset the remaining cooldown. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. It basically gets rid of Devastate, which is your filler spell. And your filler spell deals good damage, but basically your auto attacks are going to do less. Your auto attacks are going to do more damage, and yeah, I don't like the playstyle. It's ridiculous. I think there's a Demon Hunter build that has something like this, or may have had something like this one time, and it just makes the spec boring. I like to be pressing buttons, not watching my characters swing at stuff while I have no say over it. Anyway, on to the last row. Anger management. Every 10 rage you spend reduces the remaining cooldown on Avatar, Last Stand, Shield Wall, Demoralizing Shout by 1 second. It's simple enough. It's passive. Heavy repercussions. Shield Slam extends the duration of shield block by 1 second, and shield block increases the damage of shield slam by an additional 30%. This could be good for when you're trying to get more damage out, but shield block is just, it's not as, it seems like it's more useful as a damage increasing ability than as an actual damage mitigation. So I'm still kind of getting the hang of it. I think it could be possibly worthwhile, but right now not so much. And then lastly, Ravager. You throw a whirling weapon at the target that inflicts 777 damage to all enemies within 8 yards for 5.9 seconds. Also increases your parry chance for 35%. So this is a good ability. It's a good cooldown to have. I don't know. It doesn't seem very exciting to me. It all depends on what you're using it for. But yeah, not exciting to me. In fact, I have to choose between several not exciting, not super exciting abilities. I'm going to choose the one that is passive and I'm not going to have to worry about, and it'll let me use the abilities that I like to on a more frequent basis, especially if you think about this Demoralizing Shout by 1 second for every 10 rage you spend. Yeah, Demoralizing Shout has a 45-second cooldown, so if you're churning through it, it's going to reduce it after a while. 1 second's not that much, though. Yeah, but it's something, it's less to think about, and none of these are particularly exciting. I might say Heavy Repercussions would be a better option, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to show you how I fared in a dungeon. All right, let's see a dungeon I've never done before. All right, this looks like it's Waycrest Manor, and all right, let's get this thing going. Let's get some buffs, and let me figure out what the hell I'm doing. Okay, let's just kind of jump right into it. Let me see. I think maybe I'll clear out one side or the other. Looks like the boss is talking. In this video, it's going to be probably important to keep an eye out on my health. As you can see, I'm building rage. There's 3 mobs. I'm not taking a lot. I'm blocking, I'm parrying, I'm getting some heals. But realistically, my health's not going down that much, like at all. And the stuff's dying pretty easy. So let's see what's up here. I noticed this before when I was just doing some stuff. I did a dungeon earlier before this with the warrior, and I felt like I was not taking any damage at all. And I thought, oh well, maybe it could be. Well, that's definitely not the way to go. Thought maybe it could be that either the ads were not hitting hard, or it was undertuned or something like that, or maybe it had really good heals or something. But so I thought I'd give it another go and see how it went. But you see here in this one, there's another 3 mobs. They're most likely doing physical damage. I'm using my those abilities to mitigate physical damage for blocking and bolster. I notice I'm taking next to no damage, but rogue is eating it like nobody's business. I don't know that that's because the healer's not healing them, but that's not the impression I'm getting. I don't seem like I'm getting hit too hard. Obviously, I am not familiar with this dungeon, so if I look like I'm lost, it's because I am. All right, more mobs to kill. They look like, oh, there's some stuff over here. Let's see how well we handle this. Yeah, physical damage looks like for the most part. I'm still keeping my physical damage, using my impending victory when it comes up. But if you look at my health, it just does not drop. I've got ignore pain up. My health bar is not barely moving. I am getting absorbs. I'm blocking. I'm parrying, and I'm taking only the most minor of damage. There's some more stuff coming in now, and I'm using my mitigation as I can. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that I'm also have artifact gear, or whatever, Azerite gear, excuse me, and it's one of the buffs it's giving me is more versatility, which means less damage and more healing. So, I mean, I've got nothing. I've got nothing to hit me right now, and even with the other members of this group taking getting aggro and pulling stuff, my health is barely dropping. I mean, and it's too easy to recover. So it's like I'm so thinking that tanking's overpowered. Right now, ignore pain is set to, it doesn't mitigate like a set percentage. It mitigates to a certain amount. So it's not like it's necessarily going to be at a certain percentage at a higher level. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I mean, it does ignore a certain degree of pain if it may be a percentage. But right now, it caps. It has a cap. It's not. If I'm taking a huge hit from, say, a boss or something, it's still going to be capped out at a certain amount. But for trash just cannot mess with me. If you're looking in here, this rogue, I don't know how, he's somehow standing in stuff and taking some damage, but it's just not hurting me. It's just having like next to no effect. I think at the end of this dungeon, I talked to the healer, and he was like, yeah, there were some people in here that were taking damage. And it's like, I was not taking hardly any damage at all. And this run was cake. And healing, he told me healing me was cake. And I was like, yeah, it's probably because I'm overpowered. Warrior tank is overpowered. I mean, I got a discipline priest, so most of their heals are going to be absorbs, but it's not a matter of any of that. It's just that the damage it's doing, it just is not hurting me. I'm blocking, I'm absorbing, it's not having an effect. And here's a boss room, so I'm going to kill some of these ads first and let the rogue get his ass handed to him because he wants to try and pull. But I'm just going to show up to this first boss so you can get an idea of things. But yeah, the rogue is definitely taking damage. I'm not taking damage. I'm eating it, and it looks like I'm doing top damage right now anyway too, on these encounters. So I love it. It's overpowered, but I feel like it's not going to last. It's not going. Blizzard just does not let a tank be this powerful. And on top of that, with ignore pain, I have decisions to make, and they're meaningful and impactful, and I feel like my decisions are making a point. Like I can decide if it's going to be physical damage. I can look at the thing I'm about to attack, and if it's physical damage, I can say, okay, well, maybe I'll save my rage for bolster, or I'll use my block and I can mitigate some damage that way, and I can enhance my damage by hitting harder with my shield slam and time that up right. There's decisions to make. It kind of negates some of the impact of the global cooldown too, because now you're thinking about decisions and you're not just trying to mash buttons. But yeah, here I'm thinking about the boss fight, I've never done this before, so I'm trying to figure out how to do it, but I guess that wasn't important to someone like, I don't know, say this idiot rogue who's been pulling the whole time. But yeah, I'm sitting here, I'm using my cooldowns, I'm getting my rage up, I'm using my mitigation where I need to, and and it's easy, and it's really, really easy. And I feel like I'm not taking a lot of damage. This is a boss. He's barely hitting me, and the damage that he is taking is getting mitigated mostly by my ignore pain, because that's what I have up right now, and I've got my shield block on there, and I'm moving out of stuff like I'm supposed to, so I'm not taking a lot of damage. And he's barely even touching my health pool, and bam, he's dead, just like that. So that's pretty much it for the warrior for here on out. I'm gonna end this pretty quick. That's gonna do it for this video. If you like this video, please like, comment, or subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, just let me know. If you're interested in a particular class, please leave a comment below. If you think I suck, or you want to talk about how big of a noob I am, let me know that too. My self-esteem is grossly out of control, so please help me keep things in order over here. But that's going to do it for me. I will see you next time.